I now turn to Ignasi Grau Callizo, who for the past 6 years has been the director of the NGO OIDEL, which promotes education pluralism, focusing on minorities, rights to education, and he has also been active in the United Nations, Council of Europe and the European Parliament, focusing on education-related issues. The floor is yours.
I would like to start by extending my gratitude to the chairperson, His Excellency Omar Sniver, organizers, co-conveners of today's forum, the Secretariat, and most especially Mr. Labrat for this invitation. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and representatives of minority communities. Imagine a music room in which a group of children is practicing a song for Christmas recital. One child, curious about the religious aspect of the song, asks the teacher, and the teacher, knowing that the child belongs to a religious minority, mocks his question and some critical aspects of the religion of his parents. As a child, I witnessed this exact situation. I was shocked not only by how my classmates saw his identity caricature, but also by how, as a result, he was prevented from having in the future a relevant discussion about life and about religion with his peers. This memory has stayed with me ever since, and this is somehow why I'm here. To successfully address this topic, we need to recall the aim of the right to education, as it is recognized in the main human rights treaties. The primary aim of the right to education is the full development of the human personality, not merely the full development of our individuality. Two important considerations are required in order to grant the full development of human personality. First, knowing who we are, and second, participating in a common shared conversation. The full development of the human personality requires learning who we are. A child raised in the wild does not behave like a human, but like an animal. Human freedom always runs within shared cultural, moral, and social dimensions. Some of the most beautiful pages of humanity could not have been written without a shared culture or without the conviction that there is a God that loves us. For minorities, taking into account these dimensions in the educational process is particularly critical. I want to point 3 reasons for that. First, because our personhood is embedded in these realities and our freedom flourishes within them. Second, without knowing who we are, we cannot engage in a fair and relevant intercultural dialogue. And third, without knowing who we are, we cannot think critically of ourselves and of our community. We need more than neutrality, as behind neutrality often lies the reflection of an hegemonic culture that, sadly and unconsciously, becomes de facto discriminatory. This is why it is crucial to ensure a certain educational pluralism so that families outside the majority mainstream culture can introduce each generation to their own culture. The full development of human personality also implies participating in the common conversation. This would include exposure to diversity, to all the major landmarks in the field of culture, the exposure to all the achievements and consensus in the scientific world, and the recognized human rights and fundamental freedoms. From a minority perspective, we often focus on how minorities are portrayed. However, sometimes even more important is ensuring that what is considered common does not conflict with the ethos of the group exposed to this teaching. This is why it is essential for minorities to participate in the construction of what is common, at least to ensure that they can participate on equal footing in the major symbols and shared coexistence rules. I want to share 3 recommendations from member states on how this can be put into practice. First, children belonging to minorities share this condition, whether cultural, ethnic, religious, or racial, with their parents. In this regard, parents identify the critical elements of culture that are worth introducing to their children. Additionally, they are more aware than any other actor of the sources of suffering that children need to be protected from. My first recommendation is to make parents a cornerstone of the educational process if we want to grant that children belonging to a minority have a relevant education. Second, it is difficult, if not impossible in some cases, for state-run schools to provide a relevant education for children belonging to cultural minorities. This is why minorities aim to open their own non-governmental schools. Many times, the main impediment for minorities to create and run their own schools is the need to charge tuition to parents, as these schools are not part of the state-run system. My second recommendation is the establishment of a clear legal framework based on human rights through which non-governmental schools, non-profit, can have access to public funding to grant free relevant education when serving non-mainstream groups. And third, it is critical that the common curriculum, especially the parts that concern human rights and civics education, do not conflict with the values of non-mainstream communities. In this regard, my third recommendation is that participatory platforms are created in order to, at least, be careful when introducing elements in the curriculum that can serve to discriminate or caricaturize some non-mainstream communities. Any human enterprise is complex and imperfect, yet we must persevere to make this world as beautiful and dignified as possible, especially when we're talking about children. A quality education for all, particularly for children from minority groups, remains an essential goal. It was a challenge 25 years ago in that music room, and it is still today. Many thanks for your patience, many thanks for your time, and good luck in this endeavor. We have a lot at the stake, not only for minorities, but for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ignasi. Thank you for your useful reminder of the aim of the right to education being about the development of the human personality, and also your reminder that the rights of minorities to participate in the construction of what is common, they really stuck with me as being very important.